What's going on? It's Nav Sultan, and this is Sultanic Thoughts, coming with another strip club video for the fans of me. And the last one, I mean, this algorithm is doing what it's doing. It was a great video. Everybody loved it, but it's not getting those big numbers. So make sure you check that. I talk about how I used to make money in the strip clubs, and this video is about how I got into the business. And throughout that, I'm just going to drop some stories. This might be a long one, so grab some snacks, grab a drink, and let's get right into it. So, what happened was, a long time ago, I went out to eat with my family. I was maybe like 7, 8 years old, and we were eating at this Greek restaurant. And I remember I looked outside the window and I saw the first strip club I ever saw in my life. It was called the Jungle Club. And there was like guys coming in and out of it, and they all had smiles on their face. And I was like, oh my God, a strip club. Like, I was like 8 years old or something. I was like, I wish I could go inside. You know what I mean? Like, I had this burning desire to go into the strip club at that young age. And just to keep it a buck, I was a horny ass kid, bro. I was like always obsessed about, like, you know, just sex as a kid, you know what I mean? It was one of those things that was always fascinating and interesting to me. And I hated to read books. I absolutely hated to read books. And I ended up one day just looking at this like bookshelf, and there was 2 books. One was How to Get Rich, and the other book was Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. And for whatever reason, I was like, I grabbed Think and Grow Rich. And that book literally changed my life, because that was like the first book I ever really enjoyed reading in my life. And I was like, wow, like reading is crazy. Like, I fell in love with reading books after that, but more like self-help books and like business books, things that would actually be applicable to my life. And in that book, it was like, follow your passion, follow your passion, follow your passion. And I was like, yo, porn is my passion. You know what I mean? I gotta dial in and figure out how to become a porno director. That was literally what I was thinking. You know what I mean? That's how corrupted my brain was. And I was like trying to figure out, like, how am I going to get involved with this industry, and Googling stuff. And I mean, there was no information back then, real information, but I had planted the seed of the desire, like the book says. And what's interesting is that I had to do some things happen in my life I'm not going to talk about on camera. And one day I had to walk back home after going to this government office. And I walked by, this was like when I was like 18 or 19 or something. I walked past this porn store and it says now hiring. And I remember thinking, this is my shot. You know what I mean? And I go in there and I'm like, hey, I saw the sign. I want to get into this business. I want to learn distribution. I want to learn this. I want to learn that. And the guy's like, oh, wow, yeah, you can work here at the store. And I was like, okay, cool. So I started working there, and I would always pick the guy's brain. Like, who are the vendors? Who is this? Who is that? And it was a real funny thing. And I remember I used to, back then, there was always a newspaper. Like, people used to read newspapers. And I would always look at the classified section. One day, I look in the classified section, and it said, now hiring manager and DJ for adult entertainment establishment. And I was like, yo, I gotta go check this out. This might be like the next level, you know? And what's crazy was I went to this place. It was close by my house. And when I walked in, there was this big fat Italian guy, and I'm like, hey, I saw the ad. I want to work here. He's like, what experience do you have? And I'm like, I don't have experience, but I'll learn. He's like, we need somebody with experience. I'm like, yeah, but I'll figure it out. Like, we need somebody with experience. And he was like adamant, you know what I mean? Really big, psycho looking Italian guy. You know, he was connected to the mob, that guy. And as a Hail Mary, I was like, yo, I'll work for free. After a week, if you don't like me, you can get rid of me. And when I said free, he was like, okay, let's do that. He's like, come in on Friday or Saturday or whatever. I go there. He goes up to the DJ and he's like, teach this guy how to DJ. And I saw the DJ's face. He was like kind of like weirded out because I guess he knew that like they didn't need 2 DJs. They only needed 1. So he kind of had a feeling that like he was basically training me to replace him at his work. But this guy was like a little like kind of white dude and stuff like that. He was scared of the Italian guys that ran that shop. And he trained me and I crushed it. And next thing I know, on Sunday, he's like, yeah, we fired that guy. We're going to hire you. I was like, sweet. But they were paying me less. And I explained in that video how I ended up making the difference. I used to make a lot more money by selling CDs and giving girls rides home and this and that. Now, here's what I'm trying to get to that I want to point. Think and Grow Rich is a book about manifestation. And it was my first time coming across manifestation and visualization and, you know, all these kinds of esoteric new age kind of concepts of how to embed a vision into your head. And when you burn that into your head, your subconscious goes to recreate the circumstances in the physical world to match that image. That first strip club, the Jungle Club, remember the one I told you I went to at the Greek restaurant I saw across the street? This was the same club, but this one was called now it changed its name to Peekaboo's. Like, how crazy is that? How full circle is that? You know what I mean? And I was literally working the strip club at night and working the porn store during the day. Like, my mind was fried. Like, I literally fried my mind with sin. And I worked at that place for like, I think it was like 8 months or so. And then there was a silent partner. And then there was like a front man partner. And these Italian guys, they basically extorted the front guy. And they took all the money in the account. They closed down the shop. They sold it to somebody else. And then they transferred me to another club that some Italian capo guy owned. And yeah, I worked there for a bit, but I didn't like it as much. And there I ended up meeting this woman, this girl. And it's crazy because, like, I don't know what it is, but sometimes you just meet somebody for the first time and you know that you're gonna have a story with them. This has happened to me a few times where, like, as soon as I saw this person, I was just like, I don't know what it is, but it feels like me and this person are gonna have a story. And once I was in the DJ booth and this girl walked through the door and I looked at her and it was that exact same thing. Everything slowed down and it was like, you and her are going to have a crazy story. And we ended up having a real crazy story. A real crazy story. I ended up dating her, but it was a different kind of date. It wasn't like a possessive date. It was like, it was dating and there was like money involved and there was like, it was like a friend that I was helping, but at the same time I was banging, and at the same time I was like trying to not like, but it was like we just got along too good, but at the same time I knew this chick wasn't right for me, and I was still doing my own thing and doing what I do, which I was like 19 or 20 years old. And the Italian guy that was managing the second club, he ended up getting in a fight with the main guy. And yeah, they fired him. And then since he left, they told me to leave too with him because they wanted to bring in their own staff. And from there, I started to jump around at other clubs and stuff like that. But you know, it wasn't a situation that I really liked until I found this one club in this area called Mississauga in Toronto. And it was a clean club, because I'll tell you the truth, most strip clubs, right, it's not just lap dances. They're basically like glorified whorehouses, unfortunately, or fortunately. You know what I mean? But this place wasn't like that. It was actually a clean, small Greek family run place. And I worked there, and I made a lot of money working there. And I'm not gonna say how, but like I made a lot of money working there. And I was working the strip club, I was working the porn, and then I left the porn shop a long time ago, and then I got into it again because one of the managers I was friends with, I stayed in touch with him, and he asked me, he's like, yo, I need somebody, I'll pay you better, you can do whatever you want. And I would basically open the shop, and then when I was done, I would drive to the strip club, work there, and I was doing good, man. I was about, I'd say 20 years old, and I was clearing easily $150,000 to $200,000 a year between the two. And eventually I ended up quitting the porn store. I didn't want to do that anymore. And I ended up leaving the strip club business altogether until, I would say, COVID happened. And then when COVID happened, I lost this job I had managing an office in a warehouse because their sales slowed down, and the guy was basically like, you're my highest paid employee, and I can't do it right now. This thing is not churning around. And it never churned around for him. So he made the right move. And my friend hit me up. He's like, oh, come work for us, this and that. I was like, I really don't want to get back into that low life business. He's like, just do it. You'll make good money. You can make like $300-400 a night. I said, all right, screw it. I need something. And I started working there. And by now, like, the industry changed a lot. Because when I first started, a lot of the girls were like coming in from like out of town because they didn't want anyone in their city to know that they were strippers, right? So they would come from like, you know, an hour away, hour and a half away, work here and then go back. And that way they could separate their lives. They could make sure like their boyfriends didn't know. They could make sure their family didn't know. The relatives didn't know. The mechanic didn't know. You know what I mean? The butcher didn't know. But now when I was working in it, all these new age girls, they're all proud hoes. They literally live across the street and down here and advertise on Instagram. Like there's no shame anymore with this generation. They're really like proud hoes. It's almost like a badge of honor. You know what I mean? And I worked at pretty much like the top 4 places that were in Toronto. And it was a wild thing, man. Like I had the manager there was messed up. This guy was like, you know how everyone throws that word narcissist around? This guy was like 100% narcissist. And he was fucking high all the time. He would fuck anybody over for $5. Patrons were getting their asses kicked for not paying certain things. And this guy was basically like Harvey Weinsteining the girls to work there. And 2 of the bitches that worked at the club, they basically went to the cops and complained about him. And then the cops set up an investigation on him, and they eventually arrested him. And now he has like 9 years in jail. And you know, they're not going to really treat him good in there because it's considered like a grape charge, kind of what he was doing. And you know, I was working like the bouncers I was friends with there, they were all juiced out, and they just started to like get a little bit out of hand, and they ended up like just beating the crap out of somebody with a baton. And I think that was the end for the owner. The owner after that, he was like, yo, I'm cleaning house. And he kept the bartender because he was like, he was like totally not part of our clique, and the waitresses had nothing to do with it too. But like the rest of us, he just replaced all of us, you know what I mean? And I'm glad, because when he did that, I just left the city, I left the country, and I went back to Thailand, which was much better. And that's pretty much the story of how I got started in the business and where it led to. Man, in between that, there's so many other minor stories that I can't even think of right now. I thought this video would be much, much longer, but it's like, where do I start? Like, I just don't know where to start. It's like every night something would kind of happen, and you become numb to it. Like, you literally become numb to the things that would normally shock other people. Like, you know, like literally a garbage can that's just filled with like used condoms and like coffee cups and like baby wipes, like just disgusting ass stuff, you know? It was a real low life, disgusting place. And if I wasn't drinking, I wasn't enjoying it. And I didn't drink mostly. I wouldn't drink. But customers always trying to buy drinks for you. People always trying to be your friend. Customers lose their phone. You find it. Then afterwards, they want to come and hug you. You're like, don't touch me. Girls robbing customers. Girls setting up customers. Girls going missing. Then showing up like 3 weeks later from binges and stuff that their pimps did. Very low frequency place, you know. Unfortunately, I really only worked at the trash bag spots. I never, like, you know, there's these big clubs in Miami where you go buy the stack of bills and they just go crazy with it. I never did anything like that, but I'm pretty much done with that business. I'm done with that industry. I have no desire of getting into the porn industry. That was just, you know, that was just me being young and just crazy after that book. And I don't know if there's anything else to kind of touch on. I'll probably stop this video and think of all these other things, but I just said I was going to make a follow-up video to that last video, and I'm making it. But I guess there's nothing else to really say. I guess I could tell you stories with strippers and stuff like that, but I don't really care to even talk about that either. So guys, like, subscribe, watch the other video. The other video is much more interesting and much more in depth, because I talk about the economics of it all and how to make money and how I use my creativity to make money and how I kept these chicks in check, because that's another thing. These chicks, they come at you really hard and you have to kind of hold your ground and make them respect you, because if you work at these places and the girls don't respect you, or you're gonna have a long, hard headache of a day, because they're just very like entitled and they're so used to dudes kissing their asses that they feel like they have no incentive or reason to treat you with respect. But guys, like, subscribe, Nab Sultan, Sultanic Thoughts, peace out.